Hi there. You're listening to English Podcast for Beginners, your friendly guide to learning English step by step. Let's learn, practice, and grow together.
Welcome back to the deep dive. So, if you're learning English, or really any language, you've definitely hit this wall.
Oh, absolutely. It's a universal feeling.
It's that moment you listen to a native speaker, and instead of hearing clear, distinct words,
Yeah.
the words you studied, it just sounds like one long, incomprehensible stream of sound.
A blur.
Yeah, a total blur. And that feeling that everything is just too fast, that's the focus of our deep dive today. Our sources have really zeroed in on this, and our mission is to give you, the learner, some concrete, actionable ways to get past it.
And a really important mindset shift, too.
Yes. So let's unpack this. What is the real core issue here? Because my first thought, and I think yours as a learner, is always, I'm not good enough. I need more vocabulary. My level just isn't high enough.
And that is the common, highly stressful and often just incorrect assumption. The big aha moment from the research is that the problem isn't necessarily your level.
Or even the speaker's speed, surprisingly. Exactly. The sources are so clear on this. The real issue is a lack of familiarity. It's about your ear not being trained to recognize how words sound when they're all flowing together. So it's not that I don't know the words, it's that I don't recognize them in the wild.
That's a perfect way to put it. And we're going to guide you on how to train your ears calmly by treating English speed as, a mechanic of the language, not some kind of personal failure.
I love that reframing. Okay, let's start with that mechanic then. What is actually happening when native speakers talk that makes the words seem to melt together?
Well, the simplest explanation is something called connected speech. Native speakers, we prioritize efficiency and rhythm. We aren't speaking word by word by word.
Right, that would sound robotic.
It would. We're essentially merging the end of one word with the beginning of the next. And that totally reorganizes the soundscape. The sources actually point to three specific things that happen. First is linking, where a sound at the end of a word just slides into the next one. Then you have reduction, which is a huge one. Unstressed vowels get really weak. They become that little sound.
The schwa.
Schwa, exactly. It makes words like two or four almost vanish. And then the most drastic one is deletion or assimilation. That's where a sound changes completely or just disappears.
It sounds like we're speaking a totally different language from the one that's written in a textbook, so it makes sense why learners feel so lost. Can you give us an example of that last one, the assimilation?
Sure. It happens all the time in just, normal conversation. It's not slang. The sources give a great example. Take a simple phrase like going to.
Okay. When we speak quickly, our mouth is already getting ready for the next word, so going to almost always collapses into gonna.
Gonna,
Yeah.
the classic. And want to becomes wanna.
Exactly, that's reduction. But assimilation is even more subtle. Think about a question with did you. The vid sound in did and the yi sound in you, they merge.
Oh, so you get didja. Like, did ya finish that report? Or how about sort of? The T sound at the end of sort just disappears. It becomes sorta.
Sorta. Wow. Okay, so if you're listening for the letters S-O-R-T-O-F, you are never going to hear that. You will miss it every single time. And the sources really emphasize this. If you are mentally trying to hear the textbook version, what are you doing? You're fighting the natural flow. You're listening for ghosts. You're listening for something that isn't actually there.
Precisely. So understanding fast English isn't about knowing more words. It's about learning the predictable rules of how those words actually sound when they collide.
I wonder, though, if that just replaces one impossible task with another. I mean, first I had to hear every word. Now I have to learn a whole new set of linguistic rules. That panic can really start to set in.
That's a fantastic question, and it moves us perfectly into the psychological side of this, because the sources frame this discovery of connected speech not as a burden, but as a release.
A release. How so? Because the second major barrier is exactly what you mentioned. Mental pressure. The moment that fast connected sound hits your ear, your brain panics. It goes into overdrive trying to catch every single syllable. And the second you miss one tiny word, like a or the,
It's over. Your brain just gives up. You feel this information blackout. You stop listening for the message because you're paralyzed by the failure to catch one single word.
it's that vicious cycle. The anxiety about missing a word makes you miss the entire thing. How do we break it?
The solution from the research is a huge mindset shift. Instead of trying to achieve word-by-word perfection, the goal has to be listening for meaning. You're aiming for comprehension, not transcription.
Okay, so focusing on the big picture.
Exactly. And this is where the skill of listening for key words becomes so important. What actually carries the message in a sentence? It's usually the nouns, the main verbs, the important adjectives.
The words that get the stress.
Yes. They tend to be a little louder, a little slower, and they resist that aggressive reduction that happens to all the small grammatical words around them.
So if I hear a sentence like, I'm going to the library later to pick up the book that I ordered, I should really just be trying to catch going library.pickup.book.ordered.
That's it. You're listening for those islands of meaning.
Yeah.
And you trust your brain and the context to connect them. And this is so reassuring because you don't need to understand everything to understand enough.
That's a great point. Even native speakers miss words all the time, right? In a noisy room or on a bad phone call.
Constantly.
Uh-huh.
But our brains are trained to filter for those keywords and just build the message from there. Which raises an important question. How do we practically train our ears to do that?
Right, we need the blueprint. And the sources transition so well here by reminding us that listening is a skill, not a talent.
That's crucial. It's not something you're just born with.
No, it's a muscle. It needs training to get stronger. And the most important principle for that training is regular exposure. Short, daily practice is so much better than one long, exhausting session on the weekend.
Brain fatigue's a real thing.
It is. 10 minutes a day done with real attention can make a huge difference. Consistency really beats intensity here.
And our sources give 3 really powerful techniques to structure that daily practice. The first one is called repeated listening. It's a 3-step process.
Okay.
You listen to a short piece of audio.
Yeah.
And you just listen. No stopping, no pausing, no translating in your head. Just let the sounds and the rhythm flow over you. The goal is just exposure.
So you're just getting a feel for the landscape.
Exactly.
Then, step 2, you listen again, immediately. But this time, you're actively trying to notice the key words, the islands of meaning. You're trying to connect the blurry sound to words you already know. You're starting to map it out. You are. And only after those first 2 listens do you do step 3. Use the transcript or subtitles, if you have them. This is just for confirmation, to check what you thought you heard against what was actually said. It stops you from cheating and just reading from the start. I like that. It forces you to actually practice the skill. Okay, the second technique is really interesting because it's physical. It's called shadowing.
Yes. Shadowing is fantastic.
So this is where you listen to a sentence and then you immediately repeat it out loud, trying to copy the speaker's rhythm and pronunciation, almost like you're their shadow.
Right, or even trying to speak at the same time. The goal isn't perfect pronunciation. The goal is to integrate the language's rhythm into your own body. When you force your own mouth to say, what you're doing instead of what are you doing,
your brain suddenly recognizes it more easily when you hear it.
it's a direct link between listening and speaking. You're feeling the flow, feeling the speed. Those fast connected sounds become way less surprising when you've tried to make them yourself. And the third piece of the blueprint is maybe the most important for avoiding burnout. Material selection. It's absolutely crucial. The research is very clear on this. If the audio is too hard, you'll just panic. You won't learn, you'll feel exhausted and frustrated, and you'll probably quit.
But if it's too easy, you're not growing.
Exactly. So you need to find that sweet spot. The recommendation is to choose material that's slightly challenging but still understandable. You want to be in that stretch zone where you push just enough to improve, but not so much that it triggers that mental pressure we talked about.
This has been an incredibly practical deep dive. I feel like we've really moved from this idea of being a victim of fast English to seeing it as a skill you can actually train.
Absolutely. And before we wrap up, I just want to restate that core philosophical point from the sources. Fast English isn't a mistake. It's not a flaw. It's just English in its natural, efficient form. It's the standard version, not a broken one.
Exactly. And when you start fighting the speed and start understanding the mechanics, it stops being a wall of sound and starts becoming a system you can actually navigate. And that navigation takes patience. We want to leave you with that final encouragement. This doesn't happen overnight. It is totally normal to have good days where you understand a lot and bad days where you feel like you understand nothing. The progress isn't a straight line.
So what does this all mean? I think it means you have to trust the process.
Yeah.
And be kind to yourself.
Yeah. The sources remind us that progress in listening is often quiet. You might not notice the improvement every single day.
Yeah.
But if you keep training your ear, if you keep shadowing, if you focus on meaning over perfection, over time, your brain adapts. Your ears get stronger and your reaction to speed becomes more relaxed.
You just have to trust that quiet progress is happening. Keep practicing.